Hello, everybody. Hopefully, you can hear me. Uh, I sound like I'm dead. Welcome to Smashing the Party. That's what I used to do when I started this. And tonight, I'm exhausted from watching the elections. And I watched my live from last night. Of course, I go through the self-critical phase. But anyway, I'm here. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do it every day, but I figured I'd get live because I promised I would. And I'd talk a little bit, just give you a little taste of the incident that I went through in June, which definitely impacted my ability to go live here and talk to you and kind of share what I was going through because of the legal ramifications. But anyway, I'm just going to jump right into it and talk about what happened. And I'm going to try to talk about this incident from a perspective of giving you as many details as I can without making it sound completely one-sided, meaning I want to be objective about it and help you understand what I went through. And then also, I don't want to be a victim. I'm not a victim in this, and that's why I hesitate to talk about it. I don't want to be a victim of all this bullshit that I'm going to tell you about. But it sucks. And, if the sound sucks tonight, I'm sorry. I didn't go to the studio again tonight because, work and everything else. But I just wanted to be on the record for some of this, and I promised I'd talk a little bit about it, so I will. So it happened in June this summer, this incident, and it was a Friday. There was a lot of things going on at the time. Uh, kind of Lancaster had like a Roe v. Wade event, and there was what was it? Some other event that was going on in Lancaster. Oh, here comes my dogs. Hold on. Where's the doggies? We're live. You had to come down here, didn't you, Jezzy? Come here. Come here. You're going to get on camera now since we're live. Come here. Hold on. Sorry, everybody. Come here, Jez. Come here. Oh, this is Jezebel. She heard me. She had to come down and see Daddy. I know. I know. Anyway. So, and you guys are like, get on with it. Where's this incident? It's in the middle of June or the end of June, right before 4th of July. And there was, at the time, I'm a member of a local kind of club. They had their yearly, what was it like, kind of a pig roast deal. And so I was kind of excited about picking that food up. It was Friday night, first Friday, and it wasn't first Friday, but it was still a special Friday because it was at the end of the month. I think it was July 24th or June 24th. So anyway, that's the setting, and I'm working at the Candy Factory, and Candy Factory is a wonderful place. They have kind of an impromptu happy hour every Friday with members, and it's pretty low key, nothing crazy. Usually lasts about. I'm gonna leave my dog out. Lasts about probably an hour, 2 hours, from 4 to 5. Usually they close it, wrap it up at 5, and people kind of go on their way. And so I kind of hung out and with everybody until about 5, and then I proceeded to walk downtown. So not a lot of drinking happening at that time, but I had some couple drinks there. Was not intoxicated. Left there and went downtown and ended up running into, I think, a couple people at a Shot and Bottle. Hung out there, called my wife at the time I called her and I said, um, hey, listen, I'm going to be running late, but I'm going to go pick up the food from the Elks Giving. Sorry, Elks. Hopefully I'm not bludgeoning the name, but I was going there to pick that up. And I said, I'm at Shot and Bottle. I'm at this other location, and I'm going to have another drink, and then I'm going to head home. So this is maybe 3 drinks after about a probably about a 2.5 hour deal. So it's about 5:30 ish, 5:30 when I call her. By the time I leave there after my third drink, it's probably about 6:35. So I'm walking up. Now, mind you, at this time, I'm in the city of Lancaster, walking down Prince Street. I had maybe two or three drinks. Three drinks. Let's just give it three. Who cares? Actually, I'm going to say I had no drinks because that fact is still to be determined by the officers that I encountered. And yes, this is a police brutality story if you haven't noticed. I'm minding my own business. I'm walking back. I called my wife, hung out for a little bit more, closed my tab, left, walked up. Now, I had just recovered at that time from COVID. I have asthma. If you know me, you know I have chronic, it's a chronic lung disease. And I also just like that time was, I think, day 5 or 6, day 6 maybe, coming out of quarantine. So I had just recovered from COVID. So I had had a little bit of impact from that on my lungs. So I got tired, and so that in combination with a couple drinks, I get tired. So I'm walking up Prince Street and I take a break. And I had told my wife I was tired when I talked to her on the phone. And she's like, "All right, well, just get home and go get the drinks or go get the food from the place that we had bought tickets for, and I'll see you later." So plan is in place. 6:30, I'm walking up and I'm getting tired, so I take a break. I lay my head down at this table at the restaurant. You're like, "All right, what? Wait, whoa, Nate. What do you mean you laid your head down?" Okay, I was tired. I was walking up. I was walking up the street, and I thought, you know what? There's a table here. There's things going on. I'll just sit back, chill, take a minute, breathe, catch my breath, and move on. Probably the worst decision of my life, right? You're thinking, well, I mean, that doesn't sound awful, right? You're just sitting down at a table, and the restaurant owner, who I could visibly see, was okay with it and seemed fine with it. So I just sat there, and the next thing you know, that's when this incident evolved. Now, before I go into how this incident evolved into total shit chaos, I want to say that I'm not here to throw names out there or even suggest that all police are awful. What I do know is that the way I was treated that night was certainly different than I think a 75-year-old white man might have been treated, or even a white woman, or even maybe a child, or even somebody that was disabled, or anybody that might have been vulnerable or in a position where there might have been a health issue. There would have been a different approach than the approach that was taken. And so that's the thing that we're going to talk about as we kind of dive into the details of this fucking nastiness, which again is in flux, and you will probably hear more about this. But I kind of held my tongue on this because I'm still incredulous of what happened, and you're like, well, what happened? What happened? Well, I'll tell you what happened, and it might take a couple episodes, but I'm going to tell you what happened. And I think when you find out how this kind of rolled out over time, where I encountered not only the bullshit justice system that we have in place. Again, I just kind of roll with the punches. I have connections. I can make phone calls and be a tough guy and be like, hey, hey, what's going on here? I just was like, you know what? I can't even believe this is happening to me. So after this whole thing, which you will hear more about, I kind of let things ride. And then I got to ride the wave of the shitstorm that is our justice system. And I wasn't worried about it because, again, the worst thing that happened from all of this were charges that were so minimal and so kind of offensively low for the violence that was projected onto me that I was like, I'll fight this all the way to fucking hell. Because to get charged with the charge that I got charged with, public drunkenness, right? And then to have been brutalized the way I was brutalized with no explanation from the officers or no documentation of this whole entire episode, I think you'll find that the details of this thing are crazy. And when I tell an attorney there that actually gives a fuck about police brutality, one of the things that I found out as I'm telling this story, which I haven't fully told you yet on purpose, but as I'm telling this story to attorneys, I had several attorneys say, "Man, it's just too bad you didn't die because your wife would hit the jackpot." So there were a lot of people that were like, I can't take this case. I can't do anything here because you didn't die. There's no permanent damage. They didn't choke you out. I mean, that's really what the fuck I found out. So, when I talk about this, I don't want to talk about it from the side of a victim. I mean, I'm fine, right? I'm kind of like, all right, this happened to me. I can argue, and because there's a strong argument to be made, which I had to actually overcome myself, which is how responsible am I for this whole incident that occurred that you have not heard the gruesome details of yet? How responsible am I of this whole entire thing? And it took some convincing for my better half to say, "Yo, dude, this is fucked up in any regard." In fact, two of the attorneys were like, "Yo, this is so messed up," but one of them was like, I can't take this case because it's just, you know, uh, I can't talk about the evidence that we have, but the fact that I didn't have any bodily harm, the permanent damage to my body, was the reason why this case becomes weird because you only get really cash. And I was like, I don't give a fuck about cash settlement. I don't give a fuck about civil. I just want to find out why I was brutalized and walked away with a summary offense. And I haven't even gotten to brutalization yet. And I'll talk about that and we'll talk about it and, let you guys kind of absorb the incident because the incident set me back too. I talked yesterday a little bit about what made it difficult to get back on air, but then compounding with this incident that I can't really talk about, and I can't shut my mouth once I start opening it, and so this compounds with the kind of struggle, the internal struggle of me kind of looking at myself and watching myself get angry in front of you know several thousand people actually, kind of compound into this whole inner dialogue that's going on that's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what am I doing? And am I doing something wrong? And of course, people want to point to alcohol right away. And that's a valid objection. Let's say, when I talk about what happened to me, you can say, well, what triggered this whole incident? Well, you went out drinking on a Friday night and you shouldn't have put your head there on the table. And then from there, the details, which I haven't shared with you yet on purpose, you can argue that, all right, well, had those events that I just told you not happened, then none of the, you know, 10 hours of hell that you went through, um, you know, would have happened. So then I had to go through that. Like, I'm responsible. So it took me a couple days to go, I mean, all right. The stuff was crazy and it was like mind boggling, kind of Guantanamo Bay shit. But I shouldn't have had that extra drink, and it's 6:30, and I'm tired, and I'm putting my head at a table, and maybe that's why this whole thing happened, and it all comes from my irresponsibility. And then the more I think about it, I'm like, all right, so I tell this story to you, and I say this is what happened, and then I tell you the end result of that, and you go, what the fuck? And there's a what the fuck moment. There's several what the fuck moments, and I'm not trying to be. I am trying to kind of hold out the climactic, awfulness of this story. But I just wanted to say that the incident that I'm going to talk about is personal and it's real and it happened. And it's like, this whole podcast, one of the first incidents that spawned me getting angry when I had a captivated audience during the lockdown was the George Floyd murder that we watched, in real time. We watched it happen in real time. It's like we're watching this shit. And so, for something of this level to happen to me, it's like, I'm an observer. I'm sitting here. I'm, like every other motherfucker in this world has a podcast or a live stream or has access to a computer and can broadcast their crazy ideas. I'm doing that. I'm an observer. I'm kind of trying to be on the outside talking about these things that happen to other people and saying how fucked up this system is that we live in. And here I am in the middle of this sabbatical that I'm taking for this personal growth. I'm fucking getting brutalized by these motherfuckers. And so this happened to me. And so it was difficult. It's difficult to talk about. There's a little PTSD involved with it. And I'm being straight up and I'm not trying to be a victim. And that's why I struggled to get on and talk about this because I don't need sympathy. I don't need help. I don't need financial aid. I don't need anything other than I want on the record what happened to me. And I want people to understand that the way the system's designed is if you don't have money, you're screwed. And I'm purposely kind of letting things happen to see what happens to somebody when they have no connections, they have no funds. What's the worst that's going to happen? I'm going to get a public drunkenness on my record. I mean, I know that might make people uneasy about having, oh, I didn't have any detentions. I don't give a shit if I have a public drunkenness on my record. Who cares? And I'm literally going through the system. I'm going to tell you each step of the way how fucked up it was. How the assumption was that I was guilty out the gate. How I find out Lancaster is a plead county where attorneys here work to get things through the system without actually looking for a jury of your peers. They want to plead you out. So if you're going to get convicted of a crime in this county, get an out of state attorney. These are the things that I find, or sorry, not out of state, an out of county attorney, because everyone hears, and this is even the good ones. And I've used the people here, and I'm not suggesting that every attorney here is corrupt. It's how the systems works. It's optimized to get people in and out. Actually get people in and through it and processed and through it and processed and repeat, rinse and repeat if necessary. And as somebody who has some privilege coming from a job that has good, we have good income and I have a good family and I have a good upbringing and watching how I just kind of coast through and just don't raise any flags and watch my name go through the system and watch how fucked up it is. And luckily, I mean, fortunately, I can pay my fines. I don't have to. I'll talk about the system that's built and how it's literally engineered for poverty. It's designed to accept payments only from people that don't have any money. Point in case, you can't pay off your fine when you go to your arraignment because it'll fuck up the system, was what she said. She didn't use the word fuck up. But I mean, these are the type of things that I'm telling you are just. I mean, I was recording videos as this happens. It happened in June. It happened in June, and my wife's like, "Hey, just record. You should record things as they're happening." And I'm like, I'm just kind of just like, what the hell is this? The fact that they actually showed up and then lied. I mean, lied, lied. Didn't think we knew things. Didn't think we have evidence. Didn't think we had anything. And normally this would just be kind of washed on the table, and a $350 fine is slapped on, and I make payments on that for 6 months, and hopefully I don't miss any payments. Otherwise, I end up in fucking jail. And so I make those payments, and it goes away. I mean, the assumptions that I was guilty started from right after I left that cliffhanger of I laid my head down, and next thing I know, my hell began. And I'm telling you, as I break out into the incremental like pieces of the story and as I talk about what happened, it's not to suggest that I am, there's no GoFundMe, there's no bullshit. I don't need anything. All I want is for people to understand that I'm fortunate I didn't die. And my wife, on the other hand, probably would have made out had I died from this incident because then there would have been a payday because the protocol and what they did was fucked up. And this is in Podunk, whatever. And I'm not saying Podunk, Lancaster, because I love this town. And so I'm not saying this to bash Lancaster. I'm not saying this to bash any police officer. What I'm saying is this happens all the time. This happens constantly, and it's neglected because many incidents don't actually end up with death. They're allowed to beat you up to the point where you die. As long as you don't die and you don't have any permanent damage, there's really not an attorney that's going to take a case against a police union. And that's the kind of thing I'm going to talk about. And so, there's going to be some people that are going to hate this, and there's going to be people that talk about the risk that officers take, and they're going to think that I'm woke and bullshit. I don't give a fuck about any of that stuff. I don't give a fuck about you're married to a husband or your dad or your fucking mother, uncle is a cop. I don't care. This is what happened to me. This is what happens to people all the time. And if your mother, your daughter, your sister, your brother, your uncle, fucking dad, uncle, nephew is a cop, you should ask them, how often does this happen? Why would this happen? Why is this pervasive? Why am I hearing this? And then, then you can, then when you get that response and you can get them to say, hey, why it happens and why the brotherhood protects these people and why they're able to get jobs state after state or move around after incident, after you understand that, then you can come to me and say, oh, all cops. I'm not here to defend anything or fucking be woke and say defund cops. I'm here to say what happened to me and how fucked up it is. And as you learn the details of what happened to me, I think you'll agree that they fucked with the wrong person. Number one, that's not a threat. I'm not threatening anyone to hurt anybody. What I'm threatening is I have the resources and the time and the energy to fight this dumb shit and put it out on the record, every single piece of it on the record, so that everyone can see how they treat people that they don't think have any means to defend themselves. And when they think and they make assumptions about what somebody's on or make assumptions about, hey, the location where somebody's at, who happens to be at Binns Park, who has no use of heroin use, none. And these kind of things are lined up, and I've got medical records to suggest that everything I'm telling is true, and they have no evidence suggesting they have anything that's true. And so, you're probably getting like, oh my God, you said heroin. No, it's not even, that's how stupid this whole thing, that's how idiotic and moronic the incident is, in that the officer in charge basically kind of pulled what I would call feces out of his ass and decided that he was going to assess why my head was on that table without even having one fucking conversation with me. And so we'll get into those sort of details. But I think the point is not to suggest that any or the entire organization is bad, or all cops are bad. This is to tell you that this is the kind of thing that happens. There's bad apples in my industry. I work in the software industry. I have programmers that advertise their skill as one thing and they're doing the other thing. So it happens in every industry. And unless you're able to kind of say, all right, yeah, these flaws exist in my industry, or these flaws, I'm able to kind of self-reflect, it's not going to get fixed. So as I roll this little saga out, I know that there's going to be some haters and people are going to get pissed off. But I'm going to do my best not to put anyone, dox anybody, or put anyone's name out. Unfortunately, people are going to find the public record of this incident as it gets rolled out. And as these idiots fight it in trial, all you had to do is not show up. I mean, because you have clearly no idea what's lined up or coming your way, you fucking idiots. And I'm not saying that to threaten you. I'm saying, like, I would love for this just to go away. I've been dying to just kind of get my shit back in order and forget this whole incident happened. It's embarrassing to me. I hold myself responsible for even putting myself in a position to get brutalized by cops. By the way, new change of plans for me is I make sure I'm not alone. I make sure I'm accounted for when I leave. And I'm sure every woman out there can probably to be like, all right, yeah, join the club. Well, that's how I'm operating right now. I'm operating, and I'm not saying this in a negative way, but I'm operating in fear, because I need to make sure that I don't go somewhere. I mean, drinking has just pretty much gone to isolated incidents because I need to make sure that I'm somewhere safe. Being around certain people or being around certain events, I get paranoid. I get annoyed, or not annoyed. I get kind of worried that somebody's going to be there that is going to see me grab a drink and then use that on film. So, like, I'm walking around this paranoia, this PTSD, this post traumatic kind of malaise from being brutalized. So it sucks. I want to forget the whole fucking thing. But if that's the case, if fear and kind of creating that kind of constant kind of looking over my shoulder is what they wanted to do, it sucks. But I will tell you, when I tell you what happened to me, a lot of you people are probably going to wonder how the fuck I'm not raging, crazy, mad, angry at every officer that ever existed. But unfortunately, as a black man, this isn't my first rodeo, which is why, when they suggest that when the brutalization came my way, my wife is like, yeah, I've kind of seen my husband around cops, and he just kind of clams up and doesn't do a damn thing because he knows what the fuck they can do. Let me go get my dog. Sorry, I'm using the F bomb a lot. I don't know if you can still hear me or not, but come on, Jezzy, Lila. I got you. Come on. No treats. No treats. No, it's too late for treats. Come on. No treats. No treats. You can sit at my feet. All right. So, look, I'm going to wrap it up because I don't want to talk too much longer. And I had kind of a long day. And I know I'd like to get the sound going for you guys. So the next time I talk, you can hear me in good sound and good video. But that's the incident. The incident is I was brutalized. I was held against my will. I asked for an attorney. I asked for my wife. I asked for a phone call. I was stripped down. I was beat up. I went to the hospital the next day, and I walked away with public drunkenness. And the officer stated in the arraignment or the summary court hearing that he was looking out for my safety. On record, I mean, and there's no record of this summary hearing, unfortunately, which is another kind of how the justice system's rigged for they have this kind of undocumented pretrial where the judge is a guy that just like, all right, yep, I saw a camera. Oh, I see you said that on camera. Yep, you're guilty. There's no jury of your peers in this shit. And I was like thinking, why doesn't everyone just plead not guilty? I don't care if you're guilty. Just plead not guilty. Make them get a jury trial for you. Yeah, oh yeah, you're going to clog the system. And I hear attorneys say, oh, you're clogging the system. Okay, then maybe you'll stop arresting people for dumb shit. And maybe cops won't just be like, oh, I see a guy that's resting his head who, as I clearly can see, the owner of the restaurant has no issue with, who, by the way, is on the record for us stating she had no issue with it and how brutal it was watching what they did to me. So and I hesitate to even get into. I'm not going to talk about the details today because I need to process kind of what I want to say and how much I want to give away. But I mean, you kind of get the drift here. It was a black man, not suspected of doing something, and officers getting a kind of a rise out of brutalizing me for 10 hours, 12 hours. I don't know what it was. But anyway, we'll get into the sordid details eventually. But that's what it is. And you're like, fuck, dude, come on, what happened? Look, it gets worse, and it's unbelievable. It's actually unbelievable when I get into the details. And I struggle to talk about it because I don't want people to feel sorry for me in any way. I know that sounds awful and weird and maybe self-absorbed, I guess, but I really don't want people to feel sorry. And every single time I tell somebody, they're like, "Oh, I don't need that. What I need people to do is understand this exists and stop fucking like looking at the argument against evaluating our policing system and our justice system as wokeness. It's just a reality. There's things that exist that make it difficult for certain folks and certain demographics, and that includes from everything from paying the fine to the actual arraignment and the kind of the conviction and the aggregation of the criminal. The whole criminal process is fucked up, and it's geared towards a certain genre archetype, if you will. And I've found that when they kind of slip me into the archetype, now I'm like, dude, they don't understand. Like, this is fucking weird. Why can't I do this thing? Why can't I do that thing? You're really targeting certain people. And I want to walk you guys through that. And I have documentation of all this. I have my kind of immediate responses as I go through this process. And it's not over. It's still going. And, we're waiting for, I'm sure they didn't want to have a trial before elections. But we're gonna make sure that they're going to explain why they found me as they suggested, as they said on record. They actually have two different records of how they found me. I want to find out why they found me, whether they say they found me on the ground or whether they say they found me at the table, which is what I claim. I want to know why my glasses were broken and I was brutalized and I was had stitches in my hand. I have a permanent scar on my face. Why I was tased multiple times to the point where the owner of the restaurant had to look away. It was awful. She said it was awful. It was awful. So this is all, and then to wake, to kind of deal with this whole thing and walk away with a public drunkenness, and them in court suggest that no, I had not resisted arrest, and no, I had not caused anyone any risk, and no, nobody felt threatened by me, and for them to say that, and then try to, I can't even believe I'm saying this. I mean, it's almost like they assume that I forgot we got tased. So weird. Anyway, I'm kind of getting into it, and that's why I was scared of. I can't talk about it too much, but I want to. I think I'm going to run this episode by my attorney and see if it was okay, and see if I can get into some more sort of details. And without, again, I don't want to make the officer. I don't want to ruin his life. I don't want to ruin any officer's life. What I want is I want to understand what the protocol is, why they used brute force on me, and why there's no record of it, which is part of the amazing thing about this whole story is with all the vigilante, articles on this being the highest per capita camera, amazingly, the incident that happened to me is not recorded. You'd think, well, body cams, you'd think there were multiple officers involved. Well, there's a story for each and every camera. So it's my word against an officer who was looking to support or help somebody that he was heroically waved down to support and save, who he came to the rescue of, and somehow in a series of events ended up tasing him, brutalizing him, and then walking into a court and suggesting that he was looking out for my safety the entire night. This is fucking real. I wish I was. I kid you not. Like, I'm looking around. Like, is this? Where's Ashton? Are we being? Am I being punked? Is this real? Is this officer right here like really lying right now? Like, are you allowed to do this? Is this like you could just make stuff up in this part of this? Like, there's no like, there's no like court stenographer that records your shit. You can just make it up and then literally pull out a camera and show it to the judge and say this is the evidence, and then that's how they're like. And now my life is a living hell, and these guys just walk away, and I have this fine that I go to pay that I'm not allowed to pay off in full because of what? What do you mean? I'll pay the $300 right now. I can't pay it off? What do you mean if I pay it off it messes with your system? No, I'm not leaving until I understand this. Tell me, so you're saying that if I want to pay this $300 off, it'll automatically put it into the convicted system, and then that's going to basically make it so that my right to a trial is going to go away? That's what I know you didn't say that, but that's what you're. The fuck is going on? How is this possible? If I want to pay off the fine so I don't have to come back in this motherfucker, let me do it. You know why? It's a fucking incremental system. It's targeted towards, first of all, the crazy thing is they built the system targeted towards people that don't have money. Because if you're an engineer, you're going, all right, we're building a payment system. All right, give me the edge cases. What's an edge case? Well, they're the things that aren't going to happen often. Why do you want to know this? Well, we want to make sure we cover those, or we want to talk about whether they're really edge cases. Well, you know what? Let's just talk about what your target market is first. Well, I mean, most of these people aren't going to be able to pay off their fines. So you want me to build this system to take full payment and partial payment? No. I mean, like 99% of the people in this system aren't going to be able to pay full payment. So if it's going to cost me more money to build a full payment system with all the triggers that are required for having someone internally go through our pipeline of this fucking goddamn justice system that makes money, well, then that's an edge case. So the edge case Mr. Mr. or Mrs. or they engineer is, if that's how you say it, is the edge case is the full payment. We're not going to have. It's going to be very rare where someone's going to come into the district justice office and pay off a fine in full. I mean, this is district summary court. We're giving people fines that, and they're making payment plans. Well, we forced them into payment plans because of what? I mean, all this stuff. I wish I was joking, but this has been my experience. It's like, hey. Oh, here we go. See, I say justice system, and they get all riled up. I know. We're fighting the patriarchy, buddy. Girls, we got this. Those are my bitches. And when I say that, they're female dogs. It's not derogatory. My two favorite bitches. Anyway, listen, I'm going to wrap it up. But I got more to tell. I kind of gave away some of the gory details, but we'll talk about how and the why and the what the fuck. And, why was I naked and all kinds of crazy shit. So we'll get into all that crazy stuff and you'll find out why I think I have a case on my hands. But anyway, thanks for listening. I saw people post on Facebook and made some comments, and I realized that, I do a lot of self-deprecating bullshit. My dogs are just going nuts. Ugh. All right, you're done. You're done. I'm picking her up. This one's the one that's going nuts. Look, can you calm down? Promise not to fight anymore. Anyway, I want to talk about that. And, I'm just going to be transparent on this. That's all. I'm just going to try to be honest and open about things. So if you think I'm just, weak and being a weirdo, that's part of the plan. Is just to help you guys kind of go through my thought process and share what I can with you. So with that, I'm going to wrap. I got nothing else to say other than we'll talk more about those details down the road. And hopefully you got something out of it. But the incident is my brutalization by the local police department and the subsequent bullshit defense of what their actions were. We'll get into the details of that, and I'll come with receipts. So they don't even know the receipts. Not yet. Stay tuned. Anyway, thanks for listening. Listen, I didn't talk about the election. You guys see what's going on. It's horrible. Whether you're on the left or the right, it's all horrible. It's a nightmare. I'm not going to talk about. There's pundits that are doing it. I'm not up to speed on every fucking candidate across every single district and everything. So I'm going to keep where I stand on this. Republicans are batshit crazy right now, in my opinion. Let's get the crazy out. Let's get a good Republican Party in. That's my philosophy anyway. That's all I'll say on the fucking elections. We'll talk more about specifics tomorrow. Thanks for checking in. I'm not going to do this every night. I think I'm going to do it tomorrow again, but I'm trying to figure out that cadence. This is really just to grease the wheels, as I said yesterday, and get me back in the saddle, back talking, get my tongue moving, get my hand and quit my head from bobbing all around, watch myself and get my cadence right. But I also, this is really the thoughts and the feelings that I have about the current situation. And right now, politically, it's a stink pile of shit. So it's a good time to get on here and start talking about it and maybe be able to hit both sides with some things that are resonate with people on both sides because the tribalness is killing us, folks. This isn't sports. It's the tribalness is killing us. That's all I got. Thanks for listening. Again, I love the comments. You guys commented on the Facebook comment. There were comments on the Twitter feed. There were comments on the YouTube. And it was like a nice welcome back. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm honored. I love this. And I'll get my sound up. I'll get my quality up. We've got a couple months till, I hit my deadline of January, which literally plastered all over my office. So thanks for sticking in. Thanks for tuning in again. And let's try to save this democracy. I don't care what side you're on. Let's get our shit together. All right. Peace.